How do you sound out ancient Greek words when the alphabet is so different from ours? If you've never studied ancient Greek, this video is for you because I'm going to show you how to pronounce each letter, show you which letters are really similar to ours, which are potential false friends, and which are quite unlike our alphabet. By the end, you'll be reciting your first sentences in ancient Greek. So these ancient Greek letters are nearly identical in shape and sound to the letters of the Roman alphabet. And that's our alphabet. The alphabet we inherited from the ancient Romans, hence we call it the Roman or Latin alphabet. Now here next to the Greek letters, you'll see symbols in the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, to show you somewhat exact pronunciation of the letters. But if you don't know any IPA, you don't have to worry about them, but if you want to learn more, you can go and see these videos. Now let's say our first ancient Greek word, the. This means what? The semicolon is actually the Greek question mark. Also, ancient Greek is a pitch accent language. Thus, it has high and low pitches that are indicated by the written accent marks on vowels. We won't talk in detail about the pitch accent system in today's video, so for now, simply pay attention to the inflection in my voice and how this inflection corresponds to the written accent marks. Here are a couple more words that'll be easy for you to sound out. To, ta. These are words for the. Ancient Greek has many words for the. To, ta. Now I bet you're thinking, babai? Wow, reading Greek isn't hard at all. Babai. Και στους Έλληνες φίλους μου, θέλω να πω ότι ξέρω πώς προφέρονται τα νέα ελληνικά. Στην Ελλάδα προφέρονται τα αρχαία ελληνικά με τη νεοελληνική προφορά των γραμμάτων. Και αυτή είναι μια υπέροχη προφορική σύμβαση. Ωστόσο, η προφορά της αρχαίας ελληνικής, ιδιαίτερα της κλασικής Αττικής, διαφέρει δραματικά από αυτή της νέας ελληνικής. Η προφορά των αρχαίων ελληνικών λέξεων που ακούτε σε αυτό το βίντεο δεν είναι ερασμιακή, που είναι μια εντελώς διαφορετική σύμβαση. Η προφορά που χρησιμοποιώ είναι αυτή της κλασικής Αττικής. Today I'll be teaching you the classical Attic pronunciation of each letter. While I espouse various pronunciation conventions, both ancient and modern, the ancient Greek alphabet was standardized in the classical period based on Attic pronunciation. Thus, it's very useful for understanding why words are spelled the way they are. The word kaka means bad things, bad stuff. Takaka, the bad. Ho, the word for the, masculine singular. When words begin with an H sound in ancient Greek, they get this mark over them. It's called a rough breathing. Ho, ik, out from. When words start with a plain vowel sound, that is, without any H sound, they get this mark over them. It's called a smooth breathing. You can, for all intents and purposes, ignore it. Hai, hui. The words for the that are feminine plural and masculine plural respectively. Both of these are diphthongs, and that means two vowel sounds in one syllable. That's the reason why the rough breathing is over the second character in the diphthong, because they are in fact diphthongs. Hai, hui. E, you are, that is, you singular are. These two vowel letters, which we call epsilon and iota in English, do not form a diphthong. Rather, they're just a digraph. They don't rhyme with the English word hey or they in English. No. Together, they make the sound e. We have no equivalent to this long, close, mid-vowel sound e, at least not in my general American pronunciation of English. Learn more in this video. Now let's move on to the next batch of letters. These letters are somewhat or mostly similar to their Latin equivalents, with some caveats. Ekas de. The new letter here is what we call zeta in American English and zeta in British English. Its pronunciation is zda. Ekas de. This letter, which we call hupsilon in English, has a capital that looks like our letter Y and a lowercase that looks like our letter U. In the word auto, which means it forms a diphthong with the other vowel, au. Auto, just as it does in the word eu, which means well. And you can actually use this word as an interjection, eu, bravo. But most of the time, you'll see hupsilon on its own, just like in the word for dice or cubes, kuboi. And in that case, it's pronounced u, just like the French u or the German u, kuboi. But when it's written after the letter we call omicron, it makes the sound oo, which means not. Ooh. The capital of this letter is like our letter M, and the lowercase is like a cursive M with a long drippy descender. Me, meaning me. The capital of this letter is like our letter N, and the lowercase appears to be missing the first vertical part of a capital letter N. Nün, now. The letter that we call sigma in English looks like a stretched out letter S when it's the last letter in a word, and also lowercase. For example, kakos, bad. But when it occurs anywhere else, it looks like this, shi, and that's the pronoun you, singular. The capital sigma looks like this. Letter delta's capital has the delta shape, that triangle shape, and the lowercase looks like a cursive letter D. D. It's necessary. So we've started to accumulate some false friends. The capital letter delta, this triangle shape, don't confuse it for a letter A. The capital letter sigma, don't confuse it for our capital letter E. The lowercase sigma, it looks a little bit like a letter O, but make sure you notice that little hat it's wearing. The lowercase nu looks like a lowercase Roman alphabet V, but in fact it is equivalent to our N sound. And the equivalent to the M sound, which is the letter mu, its lowercase form looks like a lowercase letter U with a long descender, but just imagine it as a cursive letter M. These new letters are entirely false friends. They resemble our letters, but they have a different sound. Letter rho is equivalent to our letter R sound, but not like an English R sound, more like in Spanish. And when it starts a word, it has extra air on it called aspiration. For example, rista, root. So it has that sound when it's initial, when it starts a word, and also when it's geminated, arren, masculine. And the other time, it sounds like a single letter R in Spanish or Italian. For example, ara. If you want to master the sound of rho, I have a whole video for you here. The letter we call chi in English looks like an X, but its sound is actually closer to a Greek letter we saw earlier. The English name for this letter is kappa. And the sound of kappa is an unaspirated g sound. And by unaspirated, I mean there's no extra h sound, like we sometimes do to our letter K in English. See, we English speakers have to really work at mastering when we should aspirate or should not aspirate ancient Greek consonants. In fact, the letter chi is the aspirated version of kappa. It basically sounds like a kappa plus an H sound. Kir, hand. Now, you might be thinking, boy, that sounds just like the letter K sound. How do I distinguish these? Well, let me just put up a couple syllables here. This syllable is ga, and this syllable is ka. This is aka, and this is aka. Aka, aka. As English speakers, it takes us some time to get used to this distinction, but if you practice from day one, eventually you will understand it. I know it seems subtle, but the difference between these two sounds is just as significant for an ancient Greek speaker as it is for us with the letter K and the letter G. And here's one more really useful word, which means hello, kaire. Let's find another false friend in this alphabet. While the capital of this letter looks like an H and the lowercase like an N, it's actually a vowel. The long, open mid-vowel, a. Hadone, pleasure. Now let's turn to some letters with unfamiliar shapes. Heleaina, the lioness. Hege, the earth. Legi, says. As you can hear, this letter, called gamma, is equivalent to our letter G, but it's also used where we wouldn't use a letter G, but instead would use a letter N. For example, hoangelos, the messenger, giving us our word for angel, hoangelos. Hankura, the anchor, Anchises, and Chaises, the father of Aeneas. Here's our last vowel letter, called omega in English. Aw, that's its sound, aw, an open mid-back vowel, aw. Taota, the ears. Taota megalestin, the ears are big. Ligosui, I tell you. This letter looks funny, but it sounds like our letter X. For example, Exodus, the Exodus. Here's another ancient Greek sentence for you. Hoxenos uk helaniste. The foreigner doesn't speak Greek. But you can sound it out now, I bet. Try it again. Hoxenos uk helaniste. The next letter, letter pi, that's its name in English, it's equivalent to our letter P. Pater, father. Let's try to sound out this sentence together. Ho pater lege mui peri tes ges. O pater lege moi peritas ges. This really cool looking letter is called theta in American English and theta in British English. For example, tugater, daughter. He tugater gelai meta tu patros. The daughter laughs with the father. He tugater gelai meta tu patros. So what is the sound of this letter theta exactly? Well, it's the same as the letter tau we saw earlier. Here's a syllable, ta, except that it's aspirated. Ta, ta, ta. This contrast of aspiration of extra H sound or air on a consonant is the same distinction we had between letter kappa and chi earlier, which is also true for this letter, which we call phi in English, or phi sometimes, and it has the sound p. Letter phi sounds different from letter pi because the letter pi is not aspirated, pa, versus pa, pa, pa. Kairo pile, kairo pile, kairato pilui. The last letter to learn is the combination of the sounds pa and sh together. For example, pseude, false things or falsehoods. Pseude, ale te legi. Is he telling falsehoods or the truth? You are now just about ready to sound out almost any sentence in ancient Greek, and we're going to do some more practice today, which means by the end of this video, you'll be ready for a Greek course at the Ancient Language Institute, where, if you sign up for Beginner Ancient Greek, you'll get access to this in-depth alphabet, spelling, and pronunciation video series I made for our students.
Allobex. Hughes prosatenan riston. Hughes prosatenan riston.
We've also made our own audio-visual materials.
And
we have terrific supplementary materials like this for all our students at ALI, not just for Ancient Greek, but for Latin, Biblical Hebrew, and Old English too. Also, just this month, the first Old English graded reader storybook, Oswald the Bear, is available for pre-order. Oswald the Bear was written by Colin Gorey, our head Old English instructor at ALI, and we're thrilled to have this book as the core of our Old English course. And as terrific as those supplements and readers are, the really amazing thing you'll find in our classes are instructors passionate about these languages who are excited to teach you to read fluently, to start speaking fluently about literature in the target language. The deadline to sign up for the spring term is December 14th, with new cohorts in all 4 languages, plus a new ancient language for us, Old Persian, taught in ancient Greek. Since today's video is targeted at beginners, of course, if you know someone who already knows ancient Greek, tell them about this course because it'll be out of this world. Just imagine learning the language of the Persian Empire through spoken classical Greek. Wild stuff. We also have several other advanced and intermediate classes and private tutoring too, so sign up today at ancientlanguage.com. Now that we've learned to sound out ancient Greek letters, let's learn their names. These are their names in classical Attic. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, E, Zdeta, Heta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, Nu, Xe, U, P, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Hu, P, K, Pse, O. But in English, some of these names are a little bit or very different. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, Eta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, Nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Upsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega. The English names for the Greek letters are different for a number of historical reasons that I explain in that alphabet course for ALI Greek students. In order to sound out ancient Greek, we need to learn the difference between long duration and short duration vowels. In the best pedagogical texts, this distinction is marked with a line over long vowels called a macron. A, I, U, U. The difference in each of these 3 pairs is merely one of duration. Also, 2 of the vowel letters we saw earlier are always long in duration. E, O, Some of the long vowels can be combined with another vowel to make what are called long diphthongs. I, a, oi, ow. The first three are often written like this, with the iota written under the long vowel, which is called an iota subscript. When a letter is doubled or geminated, it's pronounced about twice as long. For example, alla, amma, innea, anasse, talatta, kokkos, hippos. All right, now we have what we need to start sounding out ancient Greek sentences. Let's take a bit from the biblical Christmas story, the Gospel of Luke. Naturally, the classical Attic pronunciation is a bit anachronistic for this text, but it's okay to use whatever convention you like for ancient Greek, even if it's anachronistic, as long as you know that. Let's sound it out nice and slow. In, de, toi, mani, toi, hic, toi, apestale, ο άγγελος Γαβριέλ από του Θεού εις πόλιν τες Γαλιλαίας χει όνομα Ναζαρέτ. All right, let's put that together. In the toi meni, toi hic toi, απεστάλε ο άγγελος Γαβριέλ από του Θεού εις πόλιν τες Γαλιλαίας. Hey, onoma Nazdaret. Now let's sound out the first sentence of Plato's Republic, and of course the classical Attic pronunciation is chronologically correct here. Socrates says, Kate ban ktes is peraia meta glaukonos to Aristonos proseuxomenos te tei Theoi, Kai, Hama, Dan, Heordan, Boulomenus, Theasastai, Tina, Tropon, Poiesusin, Hate, Nyn, Proton, Aguntis. And recited more fluidly, Κατεμπεν κτέσεις περαγιά με τα γλαουκόνος του Αριστόνος, προσεοξόμενος τετέι θεόι, καί χαματέν χεορτέν μπουλόμενος θεάσας θαί τίνα τρόπον που Ιησούσιν χατενιούν προ τον αγούντις. So now you know how to sound out ancient Greek words and sentences. I wanted to make this video for my future ancient Greek students who have never studied the language before, so hopefully you found it useful and now the ancient Greek alphabet isn't so intimidating anymore. If you know anyone who might just want to have the ability to sound out ancient Greek words even if they don't end up studying the language, please share this video with them. The phonology and history of the ancient Greek language is much more interesting than this simple introduction, so check out the other videos that are on this channel. Thanks again to the Ancient Language Institute for sponsoring this video. Thanks to each and every one of you for watching the video, and especially to my Patreon supporters. Eroste.